MLS is back, and so are the Portland Timbers in the winner's enclosure.
They noticed it before the game and acknowledged them. They acknowledged them after the game. So I think it was great to have them. And our guys for sure played for them as well.
Really well worked goal from Toronto FC to make sure of the 3 points.
It's Villa.
What's up, everybody? Welcome on into the MLS Weekend Preview presented by AT&T. I'm Susannah Collins. So thrilled to be joined by my partner in crime, Calen Carr. Calen, do you remember when we did this show in a studio?
Do you remember
at the beginning of the season
when we used to hug in the morning to say good morning?
I know, physical contact, all of that.
Here's
wow.
the coffee cup.
I know, those were the days, man. But Calen, we've got regular season games to talk about. How excited are you about this?
Very excited, and we've got some really good ones too. That's why I'm the most excited. I mean, we had some pretty good matchups, some tasty ones, some rivalries in Orlando, some unexpected ones, and now I want to see who can carry it over into the regular season.
Woo! It's going to be good. Guys, we have a jam-packed show for you. It's our first full weekend of soccer since the MLS's Back Tournament, and it's an all-rivalry weekend. We're going to see Miami playing at home for the first time, Atlanta starting life with a new manager, Portland fresh off their MLS's Back Tournament win. They're taking on their rivals in Seattle, and guys, we're going to be joined by a very special guest to dive more into another edition of El Tráfico, or is it called El Tráfico?
Who could it be? Who could the special guest be?
Well, now let's get a little taste of what we can look forward to this weekend. Time for the whip around. We start with Cincinnati against DC. And this was Federico Higuain with a really nice goal for DC, but it wasn't all good for them in the MLS's Back Tournament, unlike Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, this was one of my favorite matches of the MLS's Back Tournament. End-to-end stuff between Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota United. Minnesota goes to the semifinals thanks to Chase Gasper here. We see the rematch now. Gerso coming off the bench from the start. You know he has the quality here. This is one of the games I'm looking forward to most this weekend.
Let's move it along to the Texas Derby, Houston against Dallas. This one, Memo Rodriguez just had an outstanding tournament for him. This was a 3-3 result against LAFC, and FC Dallas, of course, missed out on the MLS's Back Tournament. They were unable to get a win yet in their return to regular season. We'll see what they can do.
You know, Michael Bradley is going to have TFC ready for this one. They looked good midweek. Cavallini comes back. The fans outside the stadium for TFC. But it was Piatti who just absolutely crushes this ball. And TFC with just so many different weapons now going around. The Whitecaps had a great showing during the tournament, but this was just all one-way traffic. They get another crack at it, but TFC, they look strong.
So pretty. El Tráfico, we got a taste of it in the MLS's Back Tournament. And, oh man, this one was fun. Started off pretty well for the Galaxy, but then Diego Rossi, this guy, one of 7 goals for him in the tournament. Pavone tried to make it interesting, but LAFC just too much. We'll see who gets the better of this rivalry.
Well, Gary Smith and Nashville have to be licking their chops at an Atlanta United in flux right now. They get their first win ever as a franchise, thanks to David Accam here. Can Stephen Glass, the interim manager, get the best out of PT and Barco? A response game. Atlanta United have a lot to prove.
Florida rivals, Miami and Orlando. And it started out really well for Miami. Juan Aguadella scoring the very first goal of the MLS's Back Tournament, and then that was pretty much all she wrote for them. Not so for Orlando and Nani. What a run they had.
Well, with all of the exciting rivalries on the coast, you can't forget about the Rocky Mountain Cup. This is a litmus test for if you are a real MLS fan here. And Krylak, you know, he's going to get goals. It's going to be a good one between these two teams. Can Freddy Juarez get the result?
And we finish out the weekend with the best rivalry, Sounders against Portland, who just won the MLS's Back Tournament because of plays like this. That was the game-winning goal from Zuparic. They celebrated, they lifted it up. More hardware for the Portland Timbers. Can Seattle stop this momentum? Let's take a look at the full schedule for the weekend. Coming up on Friday, we've got 4 games to look forward to. We've got FC Cincinnati taking on DC United, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota sporting Kansas City, also at 7:30 p.m. Then the Texas Derby, Houston against Dallas at 8 p.m. and Toronto against Vancouver, also at 8 p.m. Then on Saturday, another full schedule of games for you guys. LAFC, LA Galaxy, 6 p.m. Eastern on Big Fox. You don't want to miss that one. Atlanta taking on Nashville. That's 7 p.m. Eastern. We also have Inter Miami taking on Orlando at 8 p.m. And the Rocky Mountain Cup, Colorado against RSL, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then on Sunday, we finish out the weekend with a big Cascadia Cup rivalry. Seattle against Portland. That game at 10 p.m. Eastern on FS1.
There's Blackman. Carlito! ¡Qué jugador! Absolute magic. He didn't settle for 32 because you know what's better? 33!
All right, time now for our AT&T call to the field. And for that, we are so pleased to bring in the voice of LAFC, a guy that we know and love very, very much, Mr. Max Bretos. Let's talk about LAFC, okay? Because if there is one critique that we have seen about this team, it's that perhaps in those big games, they can't find a way to win. We saw it in the MLS's Back Tournament when they got knocked out in the quarterfinals against Orlando SC. Max, do LAFC have a big game problem? What do you think?
I don't think they have a problem, but I know they hear about it a lot. And I think the more they hear about it, it's going to trickle down and become a bigger deal than it should be. These are opportunities that LAFC, in hindsight, probably thought should have gone their way. Certainly the Orlando game, they let a lead get away. The game against the Sounders in the Western Conference Final, I think most people would say that Sounders put an incredible game plan and LAFC were chasing that game for the majority. At some point, because of the success they've created, I think they're fine now. But if they were to make another Western semi or a Western final or even an MLS Cup and lose that game, it'll continue on. And it's something attached to their success, which is a very good thing. But it mounts the pressure. And look, it's not just the media talking about it. You know, we discuss it with supporters. Some of them will bring it up on occasion. I don't think it's completely fair, but it is the way it is. The pressure's been throttling up since day one with his club.
We saw one sort of look at this matchup in Orlando, and it was completely one-sided and without Carlos Vela. Do you think that at this point, this is really LAFC's kind of running away with this? And when you look at the state of the rivalry overall, where are things now?
I think COVID has what we've dealt with rescheduling of games and cancellation and the postponements, whatever you want to call it, has put the Galaxy in a tough bind because now these LA derbies of Tráficos, Clásico Angelinos are coming in thick and fast. We had one last month. We're going to have 2 in, 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks. So, and right now the Galaxy aren't in great form. So the rivalry has been fantastic. And it really does capture the imagination of the city. Because there's so many, you don't feel that it's a big deal this Saturday, but you don't feel it like you did in Orlando. And certainly you don't feel it like when they met prior to COVID in 2019 and 2018. But all these games matter. They've always had we talk about all of them. We'll talk about this one on the 22nd. We'll talk about the one on September the 6th. And if LAFC are, say, to win both these games, it will take away from the rivalry first and foremost, but it's going to, because of the nature of the rivalry, it's going to mount a lot of pressure for the Galaxy. So while these games are important for everyone, I think they really are important for the Galaxy to show growth and improvement, or it's going to get diminished a bit, and the Galaxy it'll really, with at least performance-wise, will be a one-team town.
I think we all had a really good time watching the MLS's Back Tournament. It was a lot of fun, but it just felt like something and someone was missing. Just such a wonderful player. I think the most talented and clearly, record-setting season in Major League Soccer history. So as he returns to a team that, albeit that one match against Orlando really was seeming to fire on all cylinders, What is the mood like around the club? I know you're operating at a social distance right now, but you're closer than we are to the return of Carlos Vela.
I think it was a blessing he didn't go. I don't think LAFC wins. They could win MLS is back if he's there, but it wasn't because of a lack of scoring. So there you get Bradley Wright Phillips to get some confidence going, and you see what he can provide. And you also see that Diego Rossi's finishing has improved and can really compete in any kind of game. So now you have all those pieces together for the meat of this schedule coming up, and I think it's going to be a good thing. But I'm so excited to see him play. You certainly missed him. He does things no one else could do. And I think because of MLS is back, I doubt we'll see a 30-goal season from him. I think he's going to be looking to find other guys, Raito, Brian Rodriguez as well, where I think they'll share the scoring burden a little better, which I think is a good thing.
Max, we touched on the state of the rivalry. First of all, can we call it El Tráfico? I got scolded by by the LAFC supporter for calling it El Tráfico.
That was the draw, right?
Hot topic, Susannah. Hot topic.
Literally, I was like,
careful.
Wait, okay, apparently this is not a thing. We've canceled El Tráfico. Is it officially canceled? Max, can you get me straight here so I know?
I don't think so. And I liked El Tráfico, but working at the club, the supporters didn't. And look, we work for them, and whatever they want, I will call it. We've talked to them, and they said they want it to happen organically. They don't have one. So I think until then, El Tráfico will grow. I think we can switch it, but it's on them to find a new one. I will say that Carlos Vela, in a Instagram post to his team, I think it was Instagram or Twitter, goes, "Good luck in the Clásico Angelino," which I like because it's kind of got that Mexico feel.
I like
where
that.
The Guadalajara is the Clásico Tapatio or the Clásico this. So, a lot of Spanish language speakers here in LA, so it makes sense. I don't want to force that upon anyone. The thing is, if El Tráfico works and it's a hashtag and people like it, you've got to honor that, because the folks that aren't into MLS call it El Tráfico and they know, and that affects everything. So it's a dilemma, Susannah.
I know. Oh, believe me, the struggle is very real for me, because for me, El Tráfico just kind of rolls off the tongue, and I'm all in. So I'm going to have to retrain my brain when this thing gets.
I saw Kevin Costner at the last game, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Costner, how are you?" I go, "Enjoying the game." He goes, and he mentioned El Tráfico, and I go, "Kevin Costner is calling it."
By the way, that's a flex there, Max. That's a flex.
That's
you and Kevin Costner.
I know.
I saw him walking by, so I just said something. He was just at the stadium. He was not a guest of mine.
You work for the supporters. I work for Susannah. She's in on El Tráfico. I'm sticking with her.
Thank you, Calen. What a good teammate. Max, want to ask you about the rivalry. We'll call it the LA Derby for now, to just placate everybody. But just announced that Chicharito will be out for this matchup against LAFC. From what you have seen, here's a tweet that we're looking at from Tom Bogart. He's still nursing that same injury that he suffered during the MLS Back Tournament. What you have seen from the Galaxy, Max, is this an injury? Can they tread water without Chicharito? Are there other issues that are bigger for them? What do you think?
Well, I don't do this enough, so I just want to tell you quickly, when you flashed the Tom Bogart tweet, I thought he pirated the signal and he was going to throw a virus. That Bogart was going to put a virus in my computer. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
We're high tech here.
That Tom's a crafty one.
He's powerful. That's true.
I may be in the minority. LAFC doesn't like the Galaxy. The Galaxy don't like LAFC. I view it. I want LAFC to beat the Galaxy, but when the Galaxy don't play them, I want them to do well. And I want Chicharito to do well. I can't imagine what's going through his mind. He played at a high level. In addition to coming over here and dealing now with injuries and not finding it, missing the penalty as well, that was a costly one for the Galaxy, and MLS is back. He has to be watching like Sevilla go to the Europa League final, his last club, which you probably thought he'd be the guy. They've made the Europa League final without him. So there's a lot going on in his mind. He's a great talent. We need him in the league. When he's playing well, he can score a lot of goals and makes it. But it's just not the same player right now. And he just needs a stretch of clarity, I think. So getting well right now, don't rush him back. And I hope he can find his way and be a productive player here in MLS. But it's not a very optimistic start for him.
All right, Max will be back with us later on in the show. But right now, Calen, we have some Friday games to discuss. And I have basically some questions for each of these matchups. And we're gonna run through these, starting with Cincinnati against DC, that game at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Calen, we saw Cincinnati make kind of an unlikely run in this tournament. They got out of the group stage. They beat Atlanta United. Can they capitalize on that unlikely run?
Yes, because what they did is repeatable. They created an identity in the MLS Back Tournament, and that's not easy to do. They literally did it mid-tournament, made the shift with a brand new manager in Jaap Stam, who came in. They lose 4-0 to Columbus, and then they really get behind the ball. They defend first, and they make it hard. And then they take their opportunities to get forward and score. And they'll have Jurgen Lacadia, by all reports, back for this one, which will be huge. And then DC just haven't been able to see that same attacking prowess that we expected coming into the season, other than Higuain. And he's not going to be coming from the start, of course, more of a super sub role. So I think this is repeatable. Cincinnati have a chance to really build off what we saw in Orlando and show us that they can maybe make a run towards the playoffs.
One of the feel-good stories of the tournament for sure. All right, moving along to Minnesota taking on Sporting Kansas City. Now, these are two teams, Calen, that I think expectations around both of these clubs right now are fairly high. Which team do you think fits in that elite category in the West?
Both of them do. And I think we've seen some teams who we would have considered in that group drop out a little bit. And that has maybe made some room when we look at the LA Galaxy and some of their struggles, which I would expect to continue for a little while at least. And Minnesota was already right up in that category last year. And before this past season, Sporting Kansas City, you could always put in that conversation. So I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched and both squarely near the top of the Western Conference. We saw them go head-to-head in that first match of MLS is Back, and until Tim Melia, it was really more Sporting Kansas City's way until he got that red card. So I give Sporting the slight edge in this one, but I think both of these teams are really elite.
All right, let's move it along to the Texas Derby. Houston taking on FC Dallas. FC Dallas, of course, missed out on the MLS is Back tournament, but their regular season did start last week. However, Calen, they haven't scored a goal. It was a 1-0 result against Nashville, and then against Nashville again, a 0-0 draw. What can we expect to see from them? How do we see some improvement from Dallas?
Well, I think some of it just takes time, and they have been through so much as a team and going through all of this of going to Orlando and then having to come back and be removed from the tournament. And so now they're building their way into the season. They've been able to train for a while, but haven't been able to get that match fitness. And that's what we've seen throughout the MLS's Back tournament, was teams really building that base because there was not a long preseason. So this is still early days for Dallas. I expect them to sort it out. I'm more interested in my old Houston side to see which team turns out, because against LAFC, we saw really the way that they were able to really get behind and be as dangerous as they were. And then against sort of a limping LA Galaxy on the last day to go to the next round, we didn't see the same response. I think because it is the Texas Derby, you got to be up for this one. So I'm going to give my Houston team, while Dallas is still finding its feet, I think Houston has the edge in this one.
Shocker, Calen. All right, finally, the Canadian rivalry between Toronto FC and Vancouver. Now, we did see these two teams face off midweek, which resulted in a 3-0 win for Toronto, a pretty decisive 3-0 win at that. But Vancouver, one of the teams that sort of was a surprise in the MLS is Back tournament. Not a lot of people gave them any chance, and then they ended up getting out of the group stage. This 3-0 midweek result, though, for Toronto, is that result in what is that an indication of who these teams are?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we saw a lot more than we bargained for with Vancouver in Orlando. But now they've got a pretty new team. They have to integrate all these big stars now, like Cavallini and some other players that they were missing throughout the tournament. And now they're trying to sort of figure out who they are right now, and still a little bit in flux. I don't think they will be as vulnerable as we saw on Wednesday going ahead. But TFC for me is right there at the top of the East. And we didn't necessarily see their best in Orlando because of a whole number of factors, whether it was fitness, health, and we saw Ayo really step forward in becoming a big star. But Piatti showed us even more in this last match. And I think when you look at those pieces, Toronto is what they are showing right now and only set to get stronger. So I think it will be a mismatch. Tough to beat a rivalry match sort of back to back, but I think TFC for sure big favorites in this one.
Let's take another look at Friday's schedule. We have FC Cincinnati taking on DC United at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have Minnesota Sporting Kansas City also at 7:30. Houston versus FC Dallas at 8 p.m. and Toronto Vancouver also at 8 p.m. You can watch these games on ESPN Plus, and that Toronto Vancouver match you can watch also on TSN in Canada. All right, well, we are going to welcome back in Max Bretos for our next conversation, which is about some transfers. It's been a busy few weeks in MLS, and probably the biggest splash that was made was Inter Miami signing Blaise Matuidi from Juventus. He's a 33-year-old French international midfielder. He spent the last 3 years with Juventus, won Serie A, he's won a World Cup. The midfield has been an area of concern, I would say, for Miami. And this is a huge addition for them. Max, do you think that Miami has won the transfer window so far?
I like it because I think, and this has probably been echoed by a lot of people, but when you see Miami, there's just no shape. There's no possession or quality possession. And I think this is a guy who can shape that and get other guys involved, because I believe in some of the pieces they have in the front. I'm a big Rodolfo Pizarro fan, and I can only imagine it's going to help him. Inter Miami put themselves in a position where all these big names roll around. And I mean, the biggest names you could imagine, where you kind of rolled your eyes and said, they're not going to sign. We went through this process and they'll sign. And that's fine. Even Willian at the end. I heard Willian, and quickly he went to Arsenal. So they put him in that situation where I think they disappointed people with this signing, but this standing on its own is a really good signing. And you talk about that position and how influential it can be. It's a good player at number 6, a good guy, a little deep lying midfielder who can distribute and support. That changes the team really quick.
Max, early days for Inter Miami, but it's still kind of hard to figure out exactly what category I want to put them in as a club. And you're sort of sitting in the cross-section of two clubs in one city with very different approaches to this. Do you think they will go more the LA Galaxy route with the big name stars that they're rumored with constantly, or more the LAFC route where they're getting maybe young emerging talent, or maybe a mixture of both?
Miami, full transparency, I grew up in Miami. My family's still in Miami. My mom, my dad, my abuelita, all that's are in Miami. So Miami's a bit strange for that. LA likes a winner, and LA likes the big stars, but LA likes an exciting play and winning ahead of that. I think you can get there in Miami too, but I always imagine they would probably head that direction of the Galaxy. And it makes sense. And the David Beckham angle is something no other club has, that he has this, he has all these guys in his cell phone, just like Calen, he's on his phone. Cristiano Ronaldo. He can call these guys and he can get in there. And we've heard it, like even Lionel Messi saying, yeah, maybe one day.
Herc Gomez, that's the biggest name I got, I think.
Well, who's that?
Herc's the biggest name I got. And he doesn't always text me back.
No, that guy. Yeah, he always contradicting me. But I think with David Beckham, it makes sense to go for the star power. But it comes at a price. You have to build around these guys. Although, Zlatan, it didn't seem like it fit, but they did well enough, and he got results. So I think they'd go that. But the signings as of now suggest they could build an attractive team that can win. It's just, we've got to be a little more patient about it.
Max, it is always such a pleasure talking to you. We're so grateful to you for coming on. Before we let you go, we got to get your prediction for the LA Derby, El Tráfico, whatever we are calling it these days. But how do you think it's going to go this weekend?
I really want to give the Galaxy a chance here. I don't think there's really it really shapes up. I was listening to the Bob Bradley press conference today, and he's reiterating how strong the team looks, going from strength to strength. They actually played recently. The Galaxy haven't played probably like a month. So I would say LAFC 3, Galaxy 1. And before I wrap that up, I want to say what a pleasure it is to be on with you guys all the time too.
Oh, Max.
This is easy. If we could do this every day, this is easy.
It's fun, right?
Fun.
No, it's been fun.
Time now for MLS Predict Six, presented by Bet MGM, a weekly free-to-play game from Major League Soccer. Correctly predict the final outcomes of the 6 featured MLS matches, along with secondary predictions such as which player or team will score first, or how many total goals will be scored, and you could win $50,000. Head on over to MLSPredict6.com and play for free. So with that, Calen Carr, what is your pick for this weekend?
I'm going to look up to Cascadia, and I know we have a big one with the Sounders and the Timbers. You've got the MLS is Back Tournament champs versus the MLS Cup returning champs. Don't forget about that. And I know, Susannah, you're a little bit more on the what have you done for me lately crowd, if I'm judging correctly. And you picked Portland to go, I think, pretty deep, if not all the way. But I'm going to go with a bit of a letdown here and go with the Cascadia side with maybe the bigger trophy. Let's not forget that, and pick Seattle Sounders in this one. Who you got?
All right, I like it. My pick for this weekend, I am going Sporting Kansas City over Minnesota. Now, I know we saw these two teams play each other in the MLS's Back Tournament. Minnesota staged a pretty incredible comeback in this one, but I think SKC has revenge on their minds. They didn't like their early exit from this tournament. Alan Pulido is going to continue his hot streak, and the way they started this season, I think it's going to carry over into the regular season. I'm going SKC. All right, Calen. Secondary picks. What do you got?
You may hear about that from Adrian Heath. I like the Pulido pick, though. My secondary pick, I'm going to go to Inter Miami against Orlando, and I'm going to pick the first goal in this match will come between the 1st and the 10th minute. I'm predicting fireworks in this one, and the momentum of Orlando, I don't have to pick it, but I'm going to go ahead and make an even further pick and just say that it's going to come from Nani, because who else?
Exactly. Who else? All right. My secondary pick, I'm looking to El Tráfico. And yes, I'm still calling it El Tráfico. I don't care. I like it. And I'm going with total goals in this match. And as we have seen historically, when these two teams play, a lot of goals are scored. So I'm going with 6, baby. 6 goals scored between LAFC and the LA Galaxy. Those are my picks. Guys, go to MLSPredict6.com. to make yours. Play for free. Do it. Chance to win $50,000. Why not? Calen, got a busy weekend. Let's take a look at the schedule. Guys, MLS is back, but officially back. Look at these matchups on Friday. We've got some good ones. As I mentioned, that Minnesota Sporting KC match, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN+. Then on Saturday, El Tráfico. I'm sorry, I just can't get past that one. 6 p.m. Eastern on Big Fox, you guys. You don't want to miss it. And the big capper on Sunday, Seattle versus Portland, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's a late one. So get that coffee brewing right now. That's on FS1. You don't want to miss it. But guys, thank you so very much for tuning in to the weekend preview presented by AT&T. So happy you could join us. Enjoy the soccer this weekend. We'll see you guys soon.